Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my Thursday night's Facebook Live. Though probably you're aware that this actually isn't live. As a reason for that, I worked out that at 7 o'clock this evening, which is the time my Facebook Live normally goes out, I would actually be in the air somewhere between London and Amsterdam, as I'm speaking tomorrow at Sammy Blindel's brand builders workshop in Utrecht, which I'm very excited about. But just so that you'd actually got something to watch this evening, because I know a lot of you are regular viewers, then I thought what I'd do is film something before I left. So here we are. So as I mentioned last week, what I'm doing is a series of Facebook Lives on the presuppositions of NLP. And just to explain why I believe the presuppositions of NLP are so important, let me just show you one of the slides from our practitioner training. Is that, the NLP presuppositions are the underpinning foundations of what makes NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, mental emotional release work. So they're very important. And quite a famous hypnotherapist by the name of Andre Weitzenhofer said of the field of hypnotherapy and hypnosis that the client has the uncanny knack of reading the mind of the hypnotherapist and making the hypnotherapist's beliefs come true. Which is, what he's basically saying with that is, if you went to see a hypnotherapist and this hypnotherapist fundamentally believed that it wasn't possible for somebody to stop smoking as a result of doing hypnotherapy, then the client would not get the result they wanted, as in stopping smoking, with that hypnotherapist. If they then went down the road and saw another hypnotherapist who totally believed it was possible for somebody to stop smoking as a result of hypnotherapy, even if they did the same induction, even if they did the same suggestions, the client would get the result with hypnotherapist number 2, whereas they didn't with hypnotherapist number 1. Now, we can take that and broaden it out into the field of NLP, hypnosis in general, and also timeline therapy, mental emotional release, even Awai and Huna. And remembering perception is projection, your client has the uncanny knack of reading your mind and then making what you believe come true for you and therefore for them. So this is why the presuppositions are so important. They are a set of convenient beliefs which, when we act as if those beliefs are true, enable us to get the best possible result with the person that we're using NLP, hypnosis, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, mental emotional release, and Huna with. So that's why they're so fundamentally important, and also the reason why we need to understand them. So what I want to talk about briefly this evening is the map is not the territory. And the reason why I picked that one is because when I'm doing my practitioner trainings, and people have done the pre-study for the practitioner training from the app, there's a whole CD on the presuppositions in detail, which is available from davidshepard.com if you look at the link at the top there. And, I ask people questions. What's your favorite presupposition of NLP from the pre-study? And why is it your favorite? And people share their favorites and why it's made such a major difference in their lives. Then when we've done that for a little while, I then say, okay, so is there any presupposition that anybody's not totally understanding yet, or can't totally understand how you'd fit the presupposition to a particular context or situation? And pretty much virtually on every single practitioner training, one of the presuppositions that people go, I haven't got this one yet, is the map is not the territory. So what I thought was we'll do that one this evening. So to give you a little bit of history, the map is not the territory originally comes from Alfred Korzybski. And Alfred Korzybski, in his book Science and Sanity, which was published in 1933, I believe. He actually set up the Institute of General Semantics in Chicago in 1933. He says in the book, for the study of general semantics, non-Aristotelian thinking, and neurolinguistics, which is interesting, isn't it? That book was written, published in the 1930s, and it has that term neurolinguistics in it. And one of the things that Korzybski says in there is he says that the map is not the territory. So if you remember the slide that we looked at last week, and my slide's not changing, just a second. There we go. The slide that we looked at last week, the Nlp Communications Model, and one that I've actually explained in detail in previous Facebook Lives, is what we've got the external event. That's the information which is streaming into our nervous system. In the early days of NLP, it was estimated that we received something like 2 million bits of information per second. Recent advances in neuroscience have expanded that to now 12 million bits of information, 10 million just through our eyes, another 2 million coming through a sense of hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Is streaming into our nervous system every single second of the day, whether we're awake or asleep. Whether we take it as 2 million bits or 12 million bits, it's a huge amount of information. And as I explained last week, so that we can just deal with that huge amount of information, then what our nervous system does, or what we might say from hypnosis or hypnotherapy, or even certain schools of NLP, is that our unconscious mind receives all of this information and it filters that information. It deletes some of it. So, the classic one that we normally say is that you're probably not aware of the feeling of your right shoe on your right foot until I pointed it out to you. Then I've just realized I'm not actually wearing a right shoe, but there you go. Maybe you are. But what's my unconscious mind doing? It's going like, does David need to know what's happening in his right foot for him to be able to do this Facebook Live? Answer, no. So let's delete it. So we're deleting information all the time. We're distorting information, which is where we actually take that information and we make it into something that it's not. One of the examples I use on my app in the NLP Practitioner Home Study Program is, moving to this house in the first place. First night I was here, middle of the night, the burglar alarm goes off. Of course, you have big fear, big start. Somebody's broken into the house. Get my courage up, fire off my resource anchors, go downstairs to find that the alarm system says there's an error in one of the sensors in one of the rooms. So we reset it, it's fine. Logically, rationally, sensibly, I know that actually is not a burglar, but I still had to check all the rooms, make sure the doors were locked, make sure the windows were closed, look under all the beds, check in the wardrobes, etc. before going to bed. And even though I knew that there was nobody else in the house, every single sound I heard that night, I went, did I check everywhere? So that's an example of a distortion. Then we have generalizations. Generalizations are basically how we simplify information. So this is where, for instance, you can go to a hotel for the first time, and there's a door on the front of this hotel. You've never been through that door before. You've never opened that door before. But you don't have to work out how to use it, how to open that door from first principles. We can do that from our generalizations, our rules that we have for doors. So we are filtering that information all the time before we create our internal representation, which you can see there on the left-hand side of the slide. The internal representation is what you're experiencing right now. You have an internal representation of this Facebook Live. It's not actually what's coming to you from the computer. It's not actually, or your phone or your iPad. It's not actually what I'm sending into my computer at this particular point in time. It's your deleted, distorted, and generalized version of it. So we have what I was referring to last week. Your internal representation is your model of the world. What we're saying here from a Korzybskian point of view is that your model of the world, your internal representation, is a map of the territory. It's not actually the territory, it's your personal map of it. And as we mentioned last week, the only way that we can actually create a map of model is through the process that we've just outlined, which means, some of my videos here get, 1,000, 2,000 or more views. What that means is that there's 2,000 or 3,000 maps of my Facebook Live. The only thing I'm absolutely sure about is nobody else's map is exactly the same as the map that I have for this Facebook Live at this particular point in time. So we've got the map and the territory. Now, in actual fact, if we looked at it from Korzybski's point of view, then actually what Korzybski said was, when he was referring to the map, what he was actually talking about was words, the linguistics. So as you'll see from the slide there, what we've got there is there's the internal representation, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, the olfactory, what we can smell, the gustatory, what we can taste, which is our experience. It's not actually what's happening outside, it's our experience of that. And then we take our experience and we put words, auditory, digital, as a label to our experience. So the words, actually, if we looked at it from an NLP point of view, the words are a map of the territory. Let me say that again. Your words are a map of the territory. So they're twice removed. So the words are not what they represent. There's a nice little story of, let's say, some aliens came to planet Earth for the first time, and they'd managed to get, let's say, £1 million or dollars worth of gold with them. And they say to you, you can have this £1 million, $1 million, €1 million of gold if you can describe to us exactly what it's like to eat an orange in a way that we actually have the experience of eating an orange without actually eating an orange. And there's $1 million, pounds, euros on the line here. So obviously you're up for that. So you go, okay, so eating an orange, well, it's kind of orangey, zesty, citrusy. And obviously the aliens just aren't getting it, and they get back on their spaceship and leave with their £1 million, dollars, or euros of gold. Because the word is not the experience. Other times when you've had this experience is, let's say you've had the most amazing dream, and you want to tell somebody about this amazing dream, and you say, wow, I had an amazing dream last night. And it just won't fit into the words. This experience, this amazing dream just doesn't fit. So, and then you manage to shoehorn this experience into the words, and it just doesn't seem amazing anymore. Because the words are a map of the experience, not the actual experience. This is the kind of thing you have when you have one of those, I guess you just had to be there experiences. If something's happened during the day, you go home, you're talking to your, whoever's in the house, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends or whatever, and you'll go, you never guess what happened today. Well, this person did this, and he said this to this person did this, whatever. And the other person's going, right, okay, good for you. And then you say to them, I guess you just had to be there. So what Korzybski was saying is that the words are not the experience that they represent. The words can't be. No matter what you think it is, it isn't. No matter who you think you are, you're not. You're always more than that. So that's just the way the words work. It's the way our internal representations work, and the way that our nervous system or our unconscious mind takes the territory, what's happening outside, creates a map of it, our internal representation, and then we go and put a label onto that map of the experience. It's just the way that we work. And everything's fine with that. That's okay, as long as people realize that the words are not the experience they represent, but also from an NLP point of view, that our experience isn't actually the external event, isn't the territory. Where things can go a little bit awry, where things can go wrong, is when people actually believe that their experience is the territory rather than a map. As in, they believe it's not their model of the world, this is true, this is actually the way that it is. And these are things that when we work with people, we can assist them in releasing those kind of ideas and therefore changing their experience. Because I mentioned in a previous Facebook Live, when somebody comes to work with you, for instance, if somebody comes to us in Fix My Mind, and they have a particular experience in their past, which is causing them a problem, they think that the problem is actually outside of them. I was just speaking to a private client this morning who has nerves and anxiety about presenting. And, the majority of people believe that the problem is having an audience in front of you, that you're about to do a presentation. And I had him access when this particular problem started, and he told me, and I said, okay, so as you think about that event right now, on a scale of 0 to 10, what's the emotional level? And I can't remember what he said now. I think he said 7. So he's having the emotion inside. This isn't happening right now. This is something that happened years ago. And he's got no audience in front of him. So immediately what you've got is the problem is not the external event. It's not the audience. It's not the presentation. It's the map of that, or the internal representation of that, or the model of that. As soon as people start to realize that the map is not the territory, then we can work with them using NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, mental emotional release, HUNA techniques to enable them to change the map and get a map that works for them. That is what we're talking about with the map is not the territory. Let me just bring me back again. Whoa, there we're back, instead of looking at the slides. So that's what the map is not the territory means. And, it's a very, very important one, because unless somebody realizes that the map is not the territory, their experience that they're having right now isn't the territory, if they don't realize that, or they're not willing to accept that particular presupposition, then there's nothing we can do to change it. If somebody had had a traumatic event in their life, then we can't change that. We can't change this thing that happened in the past. We can't change that traumatic event. But in actual fact, fortunately, the problem is not the traumatic event. The problem is the person's map of that traumatic event. Now, we can change the map. As soon as the person changes the map, then their response to that event in the past changes. Their emotional response to it changes. And you know that that's happened because the words that they use to describe it also change. So this is how, as an NLP practitioner, master practitioner, trainer or master trainer, we know, one of the ways that we know that the person's map has changed is, one, we see their physiology change. But equally, when we say to them, so help me out, what was the problem again? They tell you what the problem was, and their language has changed. So then we know that the map of the territory has changed. So that's what the map is not the territory means, as far as my map of the map is not the territory. That's my version of it. So I hope that was useful. I shall be picking another presupposition of NLP for next Thursday's Facebook Live, which actually will be live, because I will be here back in the UK, so I can be with you in person right at that moment in time. But I thought what I'd do is film this one so that you've got something to watch this evening. have a great evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. I'm really looking forward to seeing you, some of you in Utrecht tomorrow on Sammy Bindell's brand building workshop. Also some of others of you on Sunday at the same workshop when I do it in Heathrow. So have a fantastic rest of day, and I will see you here next week.